So, hello everyone. Today we are going to see what is endocrine system all about. So, in this endocrine system, we are going to study what's are the glands and what are the system, what are the hormones that are included in the endocrine gland. So, basically, if I say that endocrine system is made up of the glands and the hormone they secrete, that is they are made up of the glands that makes hormones. Hormones, if I say, they are basically, you can say, the chemical messengers that are carrying information and instruction from one set of the cells to the another sets of the cell. That are the systems that are influencing almost each and every cell, organ and functions of our body. Okay. Although the endocrine systems are the primary hormone producer, the brain, the heart, the lungs, the liver, the skin, the thymus, gastrointestinal mucosa, and placenta also produce and release hormones. So if I talk about what is the endocrine system all about, in this figure you can see the primary endocrine glands are mainly the pituitary. In the pituitary you can see the master gland, the pineal gland, the thyroid gland, the parathyroid gland, the islets of Lindgren, and then you can see the ovaries in the male and the testes in the ovaries in the female and testes in the male. The function of the whole endocrine system is basically the production and the regulation of chemical substances called the hormones. These hormones, these glands, you can say endocrine glands release the hormone into the bloodstream. These lets the hormones travel to cells in other parts of the body. Then these hormones help control, you can say, the mood, the growth and development, the way that our organ, the heart, the kidney, lungs are working, the metabolism, and as well as the reproduction part. Okay. So coming on to the hormone, as I said that it's a chemical transmitter, that is, it is released in small amount from glands and is transported to the bloodstream to target organ or other cells. It is basically, you can say, they're transmitting information from one part of the cell to the another part of the cell, or to one part of the organ, you can say, to the other part of the organ. These are chemical messengers that are transferring information and instructions from one set of cells to the other. Then coming on to the hormones part, you are seeing here hyposecretion or the hypersecretion of any hormone can be harmful to the body. That is, in the figure you can see the anterior pituitary and the posterior pituitary. In the anterior pituitary you are having ACTH, that is ectinotropic hormone. Basically you can see the adrenal cortex. Then you are having the growth hormone, that is growth for the, you can see in the figure, is the bones and the muscles. We will be discussing each and every hormone in brief. MSH, that is melanocyte stimulating hormone, melanocyte stimulating hormone, that is for the skin, melanocytes. Then coming on to the TSH, that is the thyroid stimulating hormone, for basically for thyroid. Gonadotropin, that is the FSH and the LH, follicle stimulating hormone, and luteinizing hormone, that is basically for the testes as well as the ovaries. And then prolactin. Prolactin also helps in the breast part, and in the posterior pituitary you can see the oxytocin, that is also for the breast part. ADH is for the kidney. So both anterior posterior pituitary hormone we have seen here, that is the adrenal cortex, ACTH, GH, MSH, TSH, FSH, LH, prolactin, and in posterior pituitary is the oxytocin, prolactin, and ADH. These basically control the production of hormones and can treat many hormonal disorders in the body. They regulate the growth, the development, the mood tissues, the function, metabolism, as well as the sex function. These you can say that it regulates how much of each hormone is released, and this you can say that depends on the level of hormones that is already in the blood or on the level of the other substances in the blood, like you can say the calcium. Many things affect the hormone level, such as you can say the stress is affecting the hormone level, the infection is affecting the hormone level, and changes in the balance of the body and the minerals in the blood is affecting the hormone level. Too much or too little of any hormone can harm the body. So medicine, you can say that it can treat these problems. Now coming on to the what are the parts of the endocrine system. Okay, in this there are many parts of the body that makes hormone. The major glands that make up the endocrine glands, you can say, as for now, you can say, is the hypothalamus, for the pituitary, the thyroid, the parathyroid, adrenal gland, the pineal glands, the ovaries, as well as the testes. What is this basic endocrine system, and if we talk about the nervous system, these two are working simultaneously, that is work together to maintain the homeostasis in the body, to maintain the balance in the body. It's a collection of the specialized cells that is located in the brain and is the primary link between the two systems. So it basically produces the chemicals that either stimulate or suppress the hormone secretion of the pituitary gland. If we talk about the hypothalamus, okay, it is in the lower central part of the brain. It links the endocrine system and the nervous system. Nerve cell in the hypothalamus makes chemicals that control and as well as the release of the hormone that is secreted from the pituitary gland. The hypothalamus, basically you can say that it mainly gathers information sensed by the brain, such as you can say by the temperature, by the light exposure, by the feelings, and send it to the pituitary gland. When it is sent to the pituitary gland, these information influences the hormones that the pituitary makes and finally it releases. So when the pituitary gland is at the base of the brain and there is no bigger than a pea, despite you can say that it is known as the master gland. It is small size as a pea you can say, but it is often called as the master gland. Why it is known as the master gland? Because it controls many other endocrine glands, such as you can say that it makes many hormones, as we have discussed before also, the growth hormone, the prolactin, thyrotropin, you can say corticotropin, or you can say antidiuretic hormone. Every hormone is mainly made by the pituitary gland. Now coming on to the secretion from the anterior pituitary gland, that is growth hormone. First talking about the growth hormone, growth in the bones and the muscles. It is essential for the growth and development of bone, muscles and other organs. It is basically you can say that enhancing the protein synthesis in the body and basically decreasing the use of glucose or other type of fat disruptions. They are basically decreasing that and enhancing the protein synthesis in the body. This is basically the growth hormone. Then coming on to the secretion from the anterior pituitary is one ACTH, adrenocorticotropin. What is this? It is basically you can say that essential for the growth of the adrenal cortex. And in thyroid stimulating hormone, it is essential for the growth and development of, you can say that the development of the thyroid gland. Corticotropin basically stimulates the adrenal gland to create and make certain hormones. Okay. Then coming on to the thyroid stimulating hormone, the thyroid you can say that it is in the front part of the lower neck. It is shaped like a bow tie or a butterfly. You can see in the figure also. It makes thyroxine and thyroidothyronine. These hormones control the rate at which the cell burns fuel from the food to make energy, and the more the thyroid hormone there is in the bloodstream, the faster the chemical reactions happens in the body. This you can see that is the most important because they help kids as well as the teens bones grow and develop, and they're also playing a very important role in the development of the brain and the nervous system. Now coming on to the secretion from the anterior pituitary, that is FSH, and you can say that FSH is a gonadotropic hormone. Okay, so FSH, why it is known as the gonadotropic hormone? The reproductive glands, if I talk about, these gonads are the main source of sex hormone. Most people don't realize it, both guys and males have gonads. If we talk about the guy, the male gonads are known as the testes or in the scrotum, and these secrete hormones called the androgen. And the most important of which is the testosterone. These hormones tell a guy body which in times the changes make associated with the puberty. And the girl gonad, that is the ovaries, are in her pelvis. It makes egg and secretes the female hormone estrogen as well as the progesterone. So it stimulates the growth of ovarian follicle in the female and in the production of sperm in the male. Now coming on to the secretion from the anterior pituitary, that is the luteinizing hormone. It's basically you can say that gonadotropic hormone that stimulates the development of the corpus luteum in the female ovarian follicle and the production of the testosterone in the female. The yellow corpus luteum that is found in the that remains after the ovulation, it basically produces the estrogen as well as the progesterone. As I told that the estrogen and the progesterones are the female hormones that are being secreted by the girl's gonad. Okay, now coming on to the second part is the secretion from the anterior pituitary, that is prolactin hormone. Prolactin stimulates the development and growth of the mammary glands and the milk production during the pregnancy. The sucking motion of the baby, that is stimulating the prolactin secretion. You can see in the figure the non-lacting milk glands, and when it is like sucking motions of the baby stimulates, there is prolactin secretion, that is the involved. After that comes the secretion from the anterior pituitary is the melanocytes. Melanocytes are basically due to the melanin in the body. It stimulates the, it regulates skin's pigmentation and promotes the deposit of the melanine in the skin after exposure to the sunlight. It's basically promoting the pigmentation as well as the deposit of the melanine in the skin after exposure to the sunlight. Now coming on to the secretions from the posterior lobe of the pituitary gland. In previous we were seeing from the anterior pituitary gland, but in reference we are seeing now from the posterior part of the pituitary gland. These are the ADH, that is antidiuretic hormone, that stimulates the reabsorption of the water by the renal tubules. That is in the figure you can see the kidney, posterior pituitary adrenal glands, as the aldosterone, ADH, vasopressin and diuresis. That is by the renal tubule. Hyposecretion of this basically can result in the diabetes insipidus. Okay. Now moving on to the secretions from the posterior lobe of the pituitary gland. This is oxytocin. Oxytocin basically stimulates the uterus to contract during the labor pain, during pregnancy, delivery and the parturition. That is a synthetic version of this hormone is used to induce the labor, that is called the pitocin. It also stimulates the mammary gland to release the milk. That is now coming on to the secretion from the pineal gland. The pineal gland, you can say, is a pine cone shape. You can see in the figure also it's a cone shape and also pine cone shape and only about 1 centimeter in diameter. When it comes on to the melatonin, it communicates the information about environmental lighting, the lighting which are melanocytes delivered to various parts of the body. It has some effects on sleep-wake cycles or awake cycles and other biological events that are connected to them, such as lower production of the gastric secretion and night. The sunlight we are just absorbing has some effects on a sleep-wake cycle in our body, and when it has effects on the sleep-wake cycle and other biological events, it is basically connected to, you can say, toward the production of the gastric secretions at the night. Then coming on to the secretion from the pineal gland, that is serotonin. It's a neurotransmitter that is basically regulating the intestinal movements that affects the appetite, the mood, the sleep, the anger and metabolism of the body. Basically it's helping in the like you can say the movements as well as the effects such as the mood swings, or you can say the sleep, the anger and the metabolism. After that comes the secretion of the thyroid gland. The thyroid gland, as I said, that it's like a V-neck shape. So basically you can say that it's a vital role in metabolism and that regulates the process. So when there is, you are seeing there is increase in the blood calcium, so increased secretions of the calcitonin is also in the body. So when the increased secretion of the calcitonin, it's the osteoclast. That is, calcitonin is basically influences bone and calcium metabolism, that is maintaining a homeostasis of calcium in the blood plasma. And whereas decrease in the blood calcium, you can say the increased secretion of the calcium. So when in the blood, when the blood calcium is increasing, so there is an increase in the secretion of the calcitonin, that is influencing bone and calcium metabolism, that is maintaining a balance in the body of calcium in the blood plasma. And if the blood calcium is decreasing, so it increases the secretion of the parathyroid hormone. Now coming on to the secretion of the thyroid gland, that is the T4 and T3. T4 you can see thyroxine and T3 is the triiodothyronine. It's basically, you can say that essential of BMR, that is basal metabolic rate. It's the rate at which a person's burn calorie while at rest influences the physical mental development of the growth of the body. So in hyposecretion, if there is no secretion of T3 and T4, that is cretinism, or you can say that Hashimoto's disease occurs. But if there is hyposecretion of T3 and T4, you can say the Graves' diseases, you can see the disease such as goiter, you can say the disease such as Graves' disease occurs in the body if there is hyposecretion of T3 and T4. And there is a hyposecretion of T3 and T4, you can say the cretinism, myxedema, Hashimoto's disease, you can see during the secretion of the thyroid gland, that is T3 and T4. Now when we move on to the secretion of the parathyroid gland, there are two pairs of parathyroid glands that are located on the dorsal as well as the backside of the thyroid gland. They basically secrete the parathyroid hormone, that is is the parathyroid hormone, which is basically playing a role in the metabolism of phosphorus. So too little results in cramping, too much results in osteoporosis or the kidney stones. Osteoporosis is known as a bone disorder. So too little results in cramping and too much results in the osteoporosis of the kidney stones. You can see the problems that are occurring due to the parathyroid gland. Now, moving on to the islets of Lagrange are small clusters of cells that are located in the pancreas. These are basically, you can say, the duct cells that is basically in the, you can see that secretes the aqueous NaHCO3 solution, the echinal cells that are secreting the digestive enzyme. Endocrine portions of pancreas are known as the islets of Lagrange. You can see here the islets of Lagrange. Here you can see the islets of Lagrange. These are small clusters of cells that are located in the pancreas. Now, what are these islets of Lagrange? The secretion of islets of Lagrange, you can see alpha, beta, and delta cell. The alpha cells facilitates the breakdown of glycogen to glycol, that is elevating the blood sugar. Okay, glycogen to glucose, that elevates the blood sugar level. Beta cells, you can see it secretes the blood hormone, that is the insulin, the hormone insulin, which is essential for the maintenance of the normal blood sugar level. The inadequate level results in the diabetes mellitus. So in a normal human body, what is that? Our goal is to maintain normal glucose level. So insulin is given to many persons to maintain the normal blood sugar level in the body. If the person is suffering from very high sugar level or very low sugar level, insulin is given to maintain that blood sugar level. Inadequate levels results in the diabetes mellitus. So in the delta cell, it suppresses the release of glucagon and insulin. Glucagon and insulin. It is basically suppresses the release of the glucagon and insulin of our body. Alpha cell, breakdown of glycogen to glucose. Beta cell, that is insulin, maintaining the normal blood sugar level in the body, and its inadequate level causes diabetes mellitus. And the delta cell, you can say this, suppresses the release of the glucagon and insulin in our body. Now coming on to the adrenal gland. Adrenal gland, you can say that it's basically a triangular shaped adrenal gland, you can see, are located on top of each of the kidney. You can see a cut section of the adrenal gland on the left and the right kidney. That is, it has a cortex and a medulla in the surface. The inside is called the medulla and the outer layer is called the cortex. You can see in the right adrenal gland as well as the left adrenal gland. So what are these? Now if you see the secretion from the adrenal cortex, the cortisol, that is regulates the carbohydrates, proteins and fat metabolism, and it is also having an anti-inflammatory effect that helps in the body cope during the if you are suffering from any type of stress or anxiety, that is helps in the regulating the protein, carbohydrate, fat metabolism, also as well as the anti-inflammatory effects on the body. Now if its hyposecretion of the adrenal cortex results in the additive steroid like cortisol, it's a steroid that is influencing the potassium and this function. Now if we see the secretion from the adrenal cortex, the cortisol, that is regulates the carbohydrates, the proteins and fat metabolism, and it is also having an anti-inflammatory effect that helps in the body cope during the if you are suffering from any type of stress or anxiety, that is helps in the regulating the protein, carbohydrate, fat metabolism, also as well as the anti-inflammatory effects on the body. Now if its hyposecretion of the adrenal cortex results in the Addison disease, that is hyposecretion results in Cushing diseases, and corticosterone like cortisol, it's a steroid that is influencing the potassium and the sodium band. Okay, in the cortisol, you can say that it regulates the glucose, that is the blood sugar level, increase the fat in the body, helps to defend the body against the infection also, you can say, and also helps in the body, response to the stress. So these are the effects of the cortisols. You can say these are basically, you can say that regulating the glucose, blood sugar level, increasing the fat in the body, as well as helps to defend the body against any type of infection, and helps the body respond to the stress. And corticosterone is like cortisol also, it is also a steroid that influences the potassium and sodium metabolism in our body. If there is hyposecretion of the cortisol, there is an Addison disease. In hyposecretion, that results in the Cushing diseases. Now coming on to the secretion from the adrenal cortex, that is aldosterone, essential in regulating electrocytes and water balance by promoting the sodium and chloride retention and potassium excretion. In the androgens, you can see there are several hormones such as including the testosterone. They promote the development of secondary sex characteristics in the male. You can see there is blood, there is a you can say hairs on the body, you can see the beards growing very high. So these are basically due to the secretion of the androgen. There is a several hormones that you can see the testosterone, due to which these structures are caused. In the aldosterone, essential in regulating the electrocyte and water balance by promoting the sodium and the chloride retention and the potassium excretion from the body. Now, when it comes from the secretion from the adrenal medulla, there is a dopamine that is used to treat shock. It dilates the arteries, elevates the systolic blood pressure, increases the cardiac output, and then increases also the urinary output. And when the person warm and comfortable, turn the victim hands to one side if neck injury is not suspected. You can see dopamine is the secretion from the adrenal medulla that is used to treat shock. If a person is going through any type of shock, or you can say that you can say that if he is going through any type of shock, we are basically dilating the arteries, elevating systolic blood pressure, increasing the cardiac output, and then increase the urinary output. Now, secretion from the adrenal medulla is epinephrine, is also called the adrenaline. It elevates the systolic blood pressure, then thus increases the heart rate, the cardiac output also increases, the speed of the release of the glucose from the liver also increases, giving a spurt of energy, dilates the bronchial tubes and relaxes the airways and dilates the pupil to see more clearly. So it is often used to counter-correct an allergy reaction. You can say that if you are going through an allergy, if you are going through an IgE, then it is basically epinephrine is used. It elevates the blood pressure, increasing heart rate, the cardiac output also increases, that increases the urinary output also. Secretion from the adrenal medulla is not epinephrine. Like epinephrine is released when the body is under stress. It creates the underlying interest, the fight or the fight responses. As a drug, however, it usually actually triggers a drop in the heart rate. So when there is a flight or a fight response, so the heart rate increases. You can see that it increases in the cardiac output as well as the urinary output. Now coming on to the ovaries, it produces the several estrogen hormones as well as the progesterone. These hormones prepare the uterus for the pregnancy, promotes the development of the mammary glands, plays a role in the stripe and develops the secondary sex characteristics in the female. Estrogen is essential for the growth, development and maintenance of the female sex organ, you can say. The progesterone, I have seen the difference between the progesterone and estrogen. Estrogen is basically used for the essential for the growth, the development and maintenance of the sex organ, and in progesterone basically promoting the development of mammary glands, growth and sex type, and develop a secondary sexual characteristics in the female. Now coming on to the secretion of the testes produce the female sex hormone called the testosterone. It is essential for the normal growth as well as the development of the female sex organ. It's basically, you can say that it's responsible for the erection of the penis. Now coming on to the secretion of the placenta. During pregnancy, the placenta serves as an endocrine gland. That is, it produces gonadotrophic hormone, the estrogen as well as progesterone. It is basically helping in the pregnancy. That is, it serves as an endocrine gland in the. Then secretion of the gastrointestinal mucosa. Mucosa, you can say that it's basically of the pyloric area of the stomach that secretes the hormone gastrin. It basically stimulates the production of the gastric acid for the digestion part. Then secretion of gastrointestinal mucosa is basically the mucosa of the stomach, of the duodenum and the jejunum of the like you can say the mucosa of the duodenum and jejunum secretes the hormone, that's secretin, which basically stimulates the pancreatic juice, that is the bile, and the intestinal secretion. The bile juice, the pancreatic juice, and the intestinal secretion, these are basically stimulated by a hormone called the secretin. Okay. Then comes the secretion of the thymus. What is the secretion of the thymus? The thymus gland has two lobes and it is a part of the is necessary for the thymus normal production of the T cells of the immune system. In the immune systems, we are having T cells. So this thymus helps in the production of the T cells for the immune part of our body. So I guess we are done for the endocrine part. So if you have seen what we have seen in the endocrine plant, what are the endocrine system all about? What is the system? Many parts of the body, what are making the hormone? What are the glands that are associated with the pituitary and the anterior part? You can see you have seen anterior pituitary and posterior pituitary. I have seen actinotropic growth hormone in muscles, in melanocytes, in thyroid stimulating hormone. What are the thymus? What are the gonadotropin? What are the prolactin, oxytocin, ADH? We have covered each and every pituitary glands and every hormones in this part. So I guess we are done for today. So thank you so much. If you're having any doubt, you can just let me know. And just thank you.